Everybody, and welcome back to acrylic painting. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a different picture than last time. So, as always, we're going to grab our paper and we're going to feel both sides and figure out which side is our canvas paper. And for me, it's this side. I think you can hear that. You can hear the texture. So, I'm going to grab that and we are going to tape it down just like last time. We're going to measure your tape out. It's about as big as I need. I'm going to rip it. I like to stick mine to my leg first just to make sure that it's not going to rip my paper. Just makes it a little bit less sticky. And I'm going to tape this down. As you can see, I measured mine a little bit short, but that's okay because we have another piece of tape that goes this way that should cover that right up for me. Or if you measure very short, you can add another piece of tape. So now I'm going to measure this side, and I'm going to rip. So again, making sure that this side is sealed extra good because that's the important side. Mine had a little air bubble, so I lift it up and I push it back down. Make sure that is sealed. And again on the other side. And the last side. Now today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to tape a little bit more than just our four corners. Today we're going to tape an X across the middle because we're going to be doing a little bit of resist with this. So we want to make sure our tape is long enough to fit, and we're going to just tape it across the middle. So the first tape going diagonally, just like that, and then we're going to do the same thing going this way. And then we're going to paint over top of our tape, and it should give us a cool effect when we're done. So we're kind of trying to get all, like this one and this one to be the same size and these to be the same. This one looks a little bit smaller for me, but that's okay. Okay, now we're just going to press that in, make sure it's done good. And now we're going to move on to paint. So we used a lot of paint for this one. Just going to move this out of the way. So we're going to have our two colors of paint, our dark and our light. We're going to need our white paint to mix different shades. So each one of these squares is going to have a different shade, and it's going to go dark to light or dark to light. So our first shade is, we're going to have blue in the bottom. The top is going to be green, so we're going to need our dark green and our light green. In this corner, we're going to have reddish pink, so need our red, and we're going to use a white for that again. And in the last corner, we're going to have our yellow. So we're going to use these three colors with our white. And then last, we're going to do some detailing on top with blacks. These are all the colors we're going to need today. I'm going to move these to the side. I've already put the colors out on my plate. As you can see, I only used little dots, but I'll probably be needing more. That's okay. It's easier to add more than it is to take away. So I kind of arranged them in groups. So I have my blue and my white, my green and my white. Oop, got a little bit of paint on myself there. Careful. I have my black for my detail, and I have my red and my yellows to make my orange. So the first thing I'm going to do is we are going to start with green. So for this one, because our triangles are a little bit smaller than a full page, we aren't going to be using our big red one, but more so our second biggest tool, the orange tip with the blue handle, the second biggest one. So what I'm going to start out with is I'm going to start with dark. We're starting with green. I'm going to start with my dark green. So I'm going to get a little bit on my paintbrush like this. And I'm just going to one last time secure this tape down, and I'm going to start painting. So I'm going to hold my paper. I like to hold my paper down and then just start. I don't like to tape my paper to the table because then I can move it as I'm painting if I need. If you find that your paper's moving around too much, you can definitely tape it down. It's all up to you and your preference. Because ultimately, this class is for you, and it's just to have fun and relax. Doesn't matter how our paintings turn out, and everyone's painting is going to be a little different. So I want my top to be quite dark, so I'm loading quite a bit of paint on my brush. And you can see that it's quite wet, and there's lots of paint there. When you're painting over in here, be careful that you're staying in your zone and you're not getting into here. If you do, that's okay. Just let it dry and paint over top of it in white. But try not to. It'll make it a lot easier for you, so then you don't mix your colors into the next zone. So I'm starting off dark, and then I'm gonna grab a little bit of light green. And you see I didn't wash my paintbrush because I kind of want the colors to mix a little. Because I want to get that, we're doing a gradient here where it's gonna go dark to light. So it's like someone watered the paint down as we were going, and it gets lighter and lighter and lighter until it's almost white at the bottom. So you see I'm going to do that here. I'm just going left to right, back and forth, just mixing these colors in. One thing about the canvas paper is you can mix right on your paper. See, now I have too much dark green on. I'm going to wash my brush in the water, and then I'm going to dry it off with my paper towel to be able to put some white on my brush and not mix them too much. So I'm just going to bring white up into here. I'm going to bring that down. So now I'm going to do this, and we'll check back in a second. So as you can see, I have my white, my light, and it's getting to dark. So I'm just mixing my white and my light greens in, and it gets darker. So now I want to get a little bit more dark green on here. Putting a little bit of dark into here to try and mix it, and I'm just bringing it right up. Then I'm going to take a little bit of dark green and just go like that. Now we're going to do the same thing on the bottom for our blue. So same thing, we're going to start off with our dark blue. So now that I did the exact same thing with my dark blue, I'm going to come in with our secondary color, the light blue, and mix that in, just the same as I did with the green. Now, just the same as before, I'm coming in with that white color, and I'm starting at the bottom, and I'm working my way up and working my way into that blue color, and then I'm just bringing it down. Just the same as before. I like to sweep in a little bit of an X motion to bring the paint down or to bring the paint up. And there we go. We have our blue. Next, we're going to move on to our pink. Now, remember, to make pink, we need red and white, so we're going to mix our pink up. So I mixed my pink, and remember, we only need very little, even less than last picture, because this one is little squares, so you're very much not using paint like last time. So you're going to start with your dark, and you see that mine's kind of streaky here. I'm just going to go back and forth, and it'll blend right out. Now, same as last time, I've got my dark pink, and I'm going to put my white, and then we're going to blend them to the middle. So I'm going to take my white here, and we're going to put a little white here, and we're going to blend it up, and we're going to start blending. So once you have that step done, we'll start on the next color. Now that we've blended our pink and our white in, just the same as we did for our blue-green, we're going to do our orange section. So to make orange, we need a little bit of white, yellows, and some reds in there. So we're just I'm gonna take my shades and I'm gonna mix around until I get the color I want, and then we are going to go. You can take any shade of orange. You can have a pastel, you can have a really reddy, intense orange. It's whatever you want because this is your painting. So I mixed my red and yellow, and I don't know if you can really tell that shade, but it's quite vibrant orange, which I want to start with on the outside, and then it'll get more yellow and pale as we move to the inside. So I'm just going to make my dark orange spot here, and we'll come back, so everyone can pause the video, and we'll come back once we've done that step. Okay guys, now that we've painted on our orange stripe, we're going to do the exact same thing as we did for the first three, and we're going to paint our white on. So I take my dab of white, and again, just going in that corner, painting up, and then we're going to make our midsection. Next, we are going to make our midsection. So as you can see, I'm painting on, and it mixed with that white. It almost looks a little bit pink, but that's okay because we're going to add a little bit of yellow to even that out. So since we added the white, it kind of turned it pink. I'm just going to add some yellow straight to my canvas and brush it in to try and fix that. And as we can see, it turned it orange again, and that yellow just fixed up my paper. So now we're going to go in with our black. So we're going to draw a tree, and you're going to paint right over the tape. We want it to, because then when we pull our tape off, there's going to be these white spots missing, and it'll give it a cool effect. So now that we have our gradients of our cool colors, these are our cool colors, these are our warm colors, and we're going to draw our tree and add leaves. And in each section, we're going to, once we have our big tree and our branches, for the pink, we're going to have some dark red pink leaves. We're going to have dark green leaves here, and in here we're going to have orangey red leaves. And that'll give it a nice cool effect with the colors. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab, I like to use my angle brush, but you can also use one of these flat brushes too, works just fine. And you're going to grab your black, and we're going to get to do our tree trunk. So I'm just going to get black on my paper and on my paintbrush. And we're going to start with the blue. This is where the trunk is going to be. So we're going to start here, and we're going to draw our trunk up into here. So we're just going to... So this piece is really one of the first of our, we're getting into our nature here. I think painting nature is really fun, and it's something everyone can relate to, so I thought we would start off our nature stuff here. So you can see I made 2 lines for my tree trunks, and then I'm going to paint the center black, and I'm just going to get some branches here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine won't be perfect, and that's okay. I really want the point of this class to be about having fun. So we're going to paint this black. And I know that kind of gets rid of some of the white here, but you'll still see some on the sides, which is perfect. So we're going to pause the video here, and you're going to paint your tree trunk black, and then we're going to check back in. So now we see we have our bottom of our tree trunk down, and now we're just going to put some branches into each triangle. So I like to start off with one big guiding line, so then that can go into here. And you can just paint straight over the tape. Sometimes I forget that too, and I try to section it, but it's much easier when you can just paint straight through. So now you're just going to paint your branches however you want. So then you can have little branches coming off it this way, and we're going to add our leaves after. So we want to use our black while it's still wet before it dries. So you're going to go ahead and make your branches now, and then we're going to check back in. Okay everybody, now that we have our branches painted, we are going to go ahead and grab a sponge. I know that seems weird, but once we let this dry a little bit, we're going to add our leaves with the sponge because it'll give us a good texture. Now we do need to let the black dry a little bit, otherwise the sponge will pick up the black and it will smudge everything. So now we're just going to let this dry for a couple minutes, and we're going to come back after. In the meantime, we can mix dark pink, a dark green, and a dark orange. So for the dark orange, if you have any orange paint left over, add a little bit of red. Here we're going to pick up a new color, the crimson red, and we will use the crimson red for our pink, but this could also help you get a darker orange. So I have a little bit of orange left, and I'm just going to add a little dot of crimson red, and we're going to mix it up and see if I get a darker orange. So as you can see, it kind of made a dark red orange, but I think that'll be just fine for our orange. Next, we're going to work on pink. I think you could just even use straight red, and that'll give it a nice color. And for our green, you're going to add a little teeny bit of black to the dark green. When I say a teeny bit, I mean a little, because black is a very concentrated color, and it'll get dark very fast. Okay, so now I've dipped a corner of my sponge into the paint. It's not dry, but not wet. Now, you're going to really only want to use the corner of this, or it is going to get everywhere. So now I'm just going to dab this on here to make my leaves. You can see it's kind of hard just to use the corner, but try your best, guys. So now I'm just going to keep dabbing this everywhere to make my leaves, and then we'll check back in when you guys are done that step with the pink and the red. So I have my leaves, and I'm going to put a little bit of a darker red over top and just dab a couple dabs in there to give it a little bit of depth. So when we have light and dark, it creates a little bit of a shadow illusion, which gives it more depth. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to do the same thing for the other two. Now you will have to wash your sponge out in between, but as we can see here, I put a little bit of a darker sponge marks on there, and it gives it a little bit of depth. Almost kind of looks like the tree's on fire here, which I think is kind of cool. So next we're going to do our green. So we're going to take our darker green shade, and we're going to add just the teeniest little dot of black into it. So as you can see here, I only put a little dot, and then I'm going to, with a clean palette scraper, grab like that much black, and I'm going to mix it in, and you'll really see that a little goes a long way. So this is what it looks like after I've done it. So now we're just going to grab our clean sponge and do the exact same thing for the green. A little tip, if you get a bit too much paint on your paper, you can grab the dry side and just dab in, and it'll take out some of that paint. And next we're going to go on to our orange, so we're going to need a dark orange color for that. So for my color, I used crimson red and a little bit of yellow orchard. So this is kind of like the browny yellow color. So I use that with some crimson red to make this kind of orangey brown color that I'll be using to do the leaves for the orange side. So I'll check back in after we're done. We'll rip off our tape and we're done. Okay, now that I've done my leaves on all sides, we're going to pull our tape off. So we're going to start with the X because that's the tape on top. And you're going to peel, and super careful. You're going to peel. If your tape is starting to stick, try pulling it at an angle. That might help. And we're just going to pull these off. So I'll check back in after everyone's pulled their tape off. And now, after we pulled our tape off, our painting is done. And there's our next painting. So now all that's left is to wash all of our paintbrushes, dry them, and put them away until next time. Alright, see you guys next week.